to address the elephant in the room. When you shrink a 6-month project down to just a couple of day intensive, are you really going to deliver the same amount of value to the client? Isn't the client kind of getting screwed? I know that's what a lot of people think. And I want to talk to you today about how that's not only not true, but the whole purpose of this intensive model was built upon our desire to deliver our best work to clients. And we found that this was the best way to do it. So first, I want you to think about something delicious that you crave. For me, it's chocolate. I have a sweet tooth, and if there's dark chocolate around, I'm always going to want it. And especially after a good meal. If I have a good meal, I'll always want something sweet at the end. That first bite, when you get dessert, you taste that first bite of dessert, so incredible. And that second bite is really good too. And the third one and the fourth one, and something chocolatey, let's be honest, is going to be really good for a long time. But there is a certain point that you reach where you've had enough. And another bite might feel almost a little off-putting. Still tastes good, but it tastes less good than those first few bites. And if you keep eating it, at some point, it's actually going to start to taste bad. If you eat too much chocolate cake, you're actually going to start to really get turned off, and it'll actually make you sick. This is what's known as the law of diminishing returns. It's usually stated in reference to the production of a commodity. It states that all else staying the same, if you keep increasing the input of something, like chocolate cake, but everything else stays the same, like the size of your stomach, a point will be reached where more input will actually result in smaller or even negative returns. And this is the same thing that happens in creative work. Of course, you want to give projects enough time to do your best work, but there's a certain point at which if you keep working on something, you're actually going to stop producing better and better results. Think about it this way. Sure, at first, the more time you spend, the better the outcome will be. But there is a point at which, if you just keep working on it, not only will the outcome stop increasing, but it will actually start to decrease. You can't work on copy forever and always just keep getting better and better results, just like you can't keep designing something and making it better and better forever. And you certainly can't talk and listen to a client forever and just continually get better and better results for them. At a certain point, those results start to decline and the outcome will be worse. So if we think of this as representing value and this as representing time, there is a point at which you are going to get the best result for the minimum amount of time. Now, this part in decline, I used to experience this all the time with projects that dragged on. We would all get fatigued. The excitement and the enthusiasm would wear off. Clients would start nitpicking at things, or they would be going back to pieces that they had already approved and start second guessing them, or they would start bringing in new opinions or ideas that came to them while they were walking down the street because they saw a billboard or a commercial, and it would just go on and on forever. And what I found was that the very structure of our projects over a long period of time actually created this whole decline in energy for all of us. And it dragged down the quality of work. Because fatigue can lead any of us into submission for a client's whims, when we'll do anything to finish a project because it really should have ended already. The problem is we actually set up our projects to work this way. Because as the clients pay more, we have this idea that we have to give them more time in return. And so we plan to give them a lot of time from the very beginning. When somebody hands you $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 to start a project, you might feel obligated to give them this long, impressive timeline with all of these different deliverables at different stages so they can really see what they're paying for. The problem is, in this structure, over weeks and months, the amount of time that you spend tends to even grow even more and even faster than whatever the project's price point would support. So that initial timeline may have had diminishing returns already built in, and then our projects take even longer and they create even more diminishing returns. And that's why no matter how great a project looks from the beginning, we almost all feel pretty tuckered out at the end. The other problem is that we don't know exactly where this magical inflection point is where we are maximizing the value, because we're determining the value based on the price they're paying and the time that we're spending, not the value of the outcome. Which is why instead we want you to throw that perspective out the window and approach creative projects first through the lens of the value of the outcome. We take a Gestalt approach to building the core process. Gestalt means an organized whole that is perceived as more than the sum of its parts. This means that we tackle the entire project as a whole. And we move the client through a process that always stays focused on the whole the entire time, rather than working on it piece by piece. This ends up cutting out a ton of steps and a ton of time, but it yields this ideal outcome. And rather than charge less for it because it takes less time, we charge more for it because the value of the outcome is actually greater than it would be over here. Not only is the result better, but they get it faster and save themselves a ton of time in the process. And we all know how time is money when you are a business owner. Being able to solve a client's problem in a few days instead of 6 months is incredibly valuable to their bottom line as well. So that's what we want to do with your process in the intensives model. First, we want to reimagine it with the Gestalt approach so that the whole process is more efficient. And after that, we want to go through and tweak the steps surrounding it so that they're as efficient as possible, and so that you can put all of your energy into the value that you're creating and make it efficient for you and the client. This is why, even though we are shrinking the amount of time that we're spending on this project, we're actually increasing the value that the client is getting. So everybody wins. Thanks for watching. See you next time.